Welcome to Escaping Purgatory, a podcast where we rewatch Supernatural, then talk it through in the hopes that we can finally escape this show.
Join us each week and leave comments on upcoming episodes, and together we can escape Supernatural Purgatory.
Hi.
Hello. We are back again this week.
What?
As if time passes or something. And we are talking about Season 3, Episode 15, penultimate episode. Time is on my side.
Yeah, I like this one.
Nah.
Oh, it's going to be a controversial episode.
To me, this felt like the writer's strike episodes. Like the last one was, and then this one, like, there were good elements of it, but I don't know. I was just like, meh. I could have watched it too early as well. It was I started watching it at like 6 o'clock in the morning because I couldn't sleep. So
yeah, this isn't a morning episode. I'll be real with you, it's not. I think this is one of the gorier episodes of Supernatural.
Yeah, that we've seen in a while, yeah.
Yeah, which I don't mind it. I know some people don't like it, but I don't mind it. It is a horror show. Or like it was.
It has its roots in horror.
Yeah.
It definitely showed back up again this episode. We may be describing some pretty gross things, so just content warning on that one.
Yeah, good point. I try and gloss over it as much as possible, but yeah, it's pretty gross. There was one moment in this that really made me jump and I like squeaked. I was like, but I'll tell you that when we come to it.
I don't think there was any bits that... Well, there was one actually. It made me the same point.
Oh, it'd be funny if it was.
Oh yeah.
I don't look. There are good points and bad points this episode. There are definitely lows in this episode. I mean, you know, the last 10 minutes.
The last 10 minutes definitely felt like they could have been their own episode.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But yeah, I mean, we'll talk about Bella. I have a whole thing on this. Yeah.
It was badly done.
Yeah. You're right. There are 2 episodes here. There are the Monster of the Week episode, and then there's how they dealt with Bella. And I think the Monster of the Week was actually quite good.
I agree.
I think the Bella stuff is extremely poor.
Yes, I also agree. So we are actually in agreement, but I guess, like, the poor handling of Bella is what makes the episode so meh, in my opinion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think the good of the Monster of the Week really outshone what they did with a recurring character in this season.
I can see it. And like, I don't think we're the first or the last people to get mad over Bella. I think this is well known in the fandom that her story was incredibly poorly written at the end. I haven't ever talked to anyone who thinks it was a good ending for Bella. So yeah. At least we can all agree on something.
That's very true.
You know, we'll talk about Bella right at the end of this episode because I've got stuff to say.
I guess we can get into it unless there's something else.
No, I mean, let's do it because I need to get to the end of this episode so I can have a rant. I'm in full rant mode.
Perfect. I think we can get through this. I said that last time, but we still ended up like talking for way too long.
Look, that's what the people are here for.
This is true.
Listen to
this is what you get, people. So I guess I'll go with the recap, which it's more of this, basically the same things as before. Dean saying we've got a year to live, so let's go kill some son of bitches and raise some hell. Then there's just a montage of them killing a whole bunch of monsters. We also then see Sam kill the Crossroads demon. Mm-hmm. Then Bella's intro, her stealing the cult, and then Dean going over the fact that he's really scared and like the last bit of the last episode, like, I'm the only one who can get us out of this, and me.
Any good music? I know what's coming next week, so I mean, I'm like, ugh.
No, nothing out of the usual.
So then we go into this episode. It starts with 2, I assume, plastic surgeons.
Yes.
Yeah, they're 2 plastic surgeons. They're coming out of the gym. They're talking about the fact that they're taking time off people's faces. I wonder what this episode could be about. And,
okay, I will say that was actually really... I didn't catch the foreshadowing, so... All right, okay, I like that. I do like that.
It's good, right? I thought it was good to have a plastic surgeon be the first victim we see. So, you know, he kind of goes to his car, goes to put his bag in, and then gets what I'm going to now refer to for the rest of time as the Crowley maneuver.
Yes.
Where he gets like hit and shoved into the trunk of a car. We don't see anything that happens to him until he turns up at a hospital all bloody, and he's like clutching his stomach. And the nurse, I don't feel like this is good medical practice, wants him to like show her what's wrong. Mm-hmm. I feel like if someone's holding something so it looks like they're keeping something there, like maybe just like lie them down first.
Yeah.
So of course, like he pulls his hands away to show her, and something falls onto the floor, and she screams. It's kind of a blood splatter. I'm going to count it, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I said his inners became his outers.
Gross. But yes, you are correct. This episode only gets grosser, so you might as well just start there and just go with it.
But I mean, we don't see any of that, to be fair.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. I mean,
it's just implied.
I would say, because I used to get really like about this kind of stuff. I think if you want to watch this kind of stuff and you really don't like it, the way I got around it is by imagining how they do the visual effects for it.
Yeah, me too.
And I find that really helps if you want to watch gross content like this. I guess that's a choice. But sometimes, like, you know, you really want to watch that movie that everyone's been hyping up about, but you don't like the gore. I find it helpful because sometimes I'm like, I actually want to watch it for the plot line.
Yeah, exactly. And there's two avenues, maybe is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So you've got the gore that happens in a movie, like just a regular horror movie, and it's just like, yeah, it's kind of gross, but it's not the focus. And then you get the focused ones like Hostel and Saw and stuff like that. That stuff I will never watch just because it's about the torture.
I agree with you. Yeah, I don't enjoy movies like that at all. Yeah, I think we were talking before this, like, the podcast, and I watched Hostel with my mum because it was on TV, and we were like, let's watch a scary movie. And I think it literally did, like, it scarred me. I did not enjoy it. I still think about that movie sometimes, and I watched it years ago, and I'm like, I should not have watched this.
I'm the same way with Alien. Like, I watched that way too young.
Yeah.
I was like 6 years old when I watched that movie. I should not have been watching that movie.
You should not have been watching that movie.
I can watch it now and I absolutely love it. It's a really well told story. It's just like, that's too intense for a 6-year-old to be watching.
It's interesting what you watch as a child and how it shapes you, because I used to watch old episodes of The Twilight Zone as a child because they were on Sci-Fi, like way too young. And some of those really freaked me out. I guess it's the same experience that a lot of British people have with Doctor Who, where you watched it when you were a child because it was on TV and it was really scary to you. Like, there's often a thing in like British culture where like older people say, oh, Doctor Who, like I remember hiding behind the sofa as a child. And it's kind of funny how that's changed now, because it's a really family friendly show. But like the aliens used to be like really scary to children, and they like purposely made them so. It's interesting. But yeah, that's how I got through this episode too, because there are some gross things in this, but I watch it and be like, how did they manage to make it look like that on camera?
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of the stuff that they show some stuff, but not everything.
Yes.
Which I appreciate. I think some of the stuff could have gone really, really bad with this one.
Yeah, I agree.
The sounds were enough.
Yeah, the sounds were enough. Your mind fills in the blanks. You don't need to see it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's definitely what happened with this first bit as well. Like, the sound of it was enough. Yeah.
Oh man. So
that plate of spaghetti that just fell on the floor.
It was blatantly spaghetti. You're right. Spaghetti has that perfect kind of noise. Oh. I'm so sorry. We started gross. We cut to Sam and Dean, and they are interrogating a demon in a devil's trap, very Meg style. I noticed behind the demon they have a fire burning. I don't know if it's supposed to be like symbolic of hellfire, but that's what it made me think of. I would say through this whole scene, Sam and Dean are like super cold. It's kind of scary to watch. This is almost like post-hell Dean.
Yeah, he's definitely... There's nothing about how this demon is acting that says that it's the demon that's possessed him yet. Because there's a shift that happens where you can definitely see, like, the demon, like, drops his act.
Yeah.
But up until this point, like, the demon's like, sounds human. I know that sounds weird because he's a human, but like, the demon can like come in and out of consciousness, right? Maybe that's what it did, or maybe it's just acting on that.
Yeah, they're super cold. I would like, we're seeing all the parts of Sam that have been building through the season where he's kind of becoming more cold and, you know, more ready to do kind of whatever it takes to save Dean. Dean, I think, is getting more desperate, which is why we're seeing this like side come out of him. But it did really remind me of how he is in later seasons sometimes. He's never really shied away from being quite cold with monsters. I don't know. There was something about the expression in his face. I was like, ooh, ooh. They are basically just spraying this demon with holy water. And it looks painful because it's like burning and everything. And asking who holds Dean's contract. And the demon's just kind of like, I don't know who it is. I don't know who it is. And then eventually like gives up and kind of goes quiet and then kind of lifts his head back up and is like, I'm a demon. I'm going to be all evil now.
Exactly. That switch in like the whole like cocky attitude. Mm-hmm. He's got like a big smile on his face and, you know, he's like, oh, he makes your mum joke kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which you cannot do with Dean Winchester.
Oh, no.
Especially this type of joke. He insinuates that he boinked his mum.
Yeah, basically.
I don't know why that phrase came out.
I like the word boinked, yeah.
Whatever. I'm sticking with it. And then he like gets right up in the demon's face. Mm-hmm. I'm like, so Dean says, I want a name or else. And the demon's puzzle, or else what? Your score only were in both ends. I was just like, what?
It's like breaking the moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's cocky in a way that Sam and Dean are cocky when they're in this situation.
Yeah, definitely.
It's how they write this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And, you know, this demon's not scared of them, basically, because it's more scared of the demon that holds Dean's contract, essentially. So it doesn't matter if they hurt this demon or exorcise him or whatever, because the consequences of telling them is actually worse. Dean looks to Sam to do the exorcism because he clearly still hasn't memorized it, right?
Of course not.
And he wanted to give Sam his moment to look cool. And again, they kind of taunt him and say, you know, does that feel good, you know, being exorcised? And the demon's like, oh, this line. So send me back to hell, because when you get there, I'll be waiting for you with a few pals who are dying for a nice little meet and greet with Dean Winchester.
Go ahead. Send me back to hell. Because when you get there, I'll be waiting for you. With a few pals who are dying for a nice little meet and greet with Dean Winchester.
Yeah. While that line is very chilling, conventions have ruined it for me. Because, you know, like, you've seen the pictures of them, like, at the little tables with the fans.
Yeah.
It's exactly how I imagined it when he said it. I was just like, this tense moment was completely destroyed by creation.
Just imagining, like, a little, like, hotel lobby table, and it's like, we've been waiting for you, Dean.
Yeah, exactly.
We have so many questions.
We paid, like, $400 to be at this table.
Oh, bless. I love that. Sam looks to Dean and says, like, should I still exorcise this demon? And Dean says to send him someplace he can't hurt anyone else. Mm-hmm. But when he says this, like, so Dean's in the background to Sam doing the exorcism, and his face is just, he's scared. He's got like a stony face on, but he's scared. There's a little lip quiver there, you know. It's face acting amazingness.
Yeah, it's like they got this demon, they thought they were going to get information, but they got nothing. Mm-hmm. It's sort of that loss of hope again.
Yeah, and also, like, you know, the reality of the fact that he's going to hell setting in, and that he's going to have to face demons that they've exorcised, and all this kind of stuff, and like what that actually might entail. It's all kind of hitting Dean all at once, and Jensen manages to convey all of that with like one facial expression.
Yeah, and like 2 seconds?
I know, right? Come on, man. Come on.
I know there's a ton of projection going on here, but at the same time, to be able to project that onto somebody, they have to be a good
vessel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say canvas, but vessel works too.
They're in this like cabin, presumably where they were holed up exercising this demon, and you know, Sam's talking on a phone to talking to like a policeman or something. So he says about like lieutenant and asking about the prints on something. And Dean kind of walks in as he's talking on this phone and asks, Sam asks him if he buried the body. It's clear that he has, because Dean comes in like well sweaty and like drinking a beer and stuff. He looks pretty tired also, but asks about what that phone call was. And Sam's found a case. Not about a stripper suffocating someone with their thighs. Okay, Dean. I like how they both remembered that news story, because he's like, no, not that one. Like the other one that we talked about yesterday.
What was the phone call about?
Remember that thing in the paper yesterday?
Stripper suffocates dude with thighs?
The other thing.
And so there was a guy who walked into the ER and died. The body was covered in bloody fingerprints that were not his. Sam says that his fingerprints match a guy who's already dead. So it looks like a case. Dean thinks it's zombies, gets extremely excited about zombies, as he always does, despite them always like, they have fought a zombie before, and it was like not fun in any way. And he's like, zombies!
Every time there's a possible zombie, he's like, oh, zombie. You know what? This reminds me of like the lupus bit in House.
It is, right? It's a bit. Dean, for some reason, likes the idea of killing zombies.
What kind of zombie movies he would have been growing up with? Night of the Living Dead, right? And all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Like the slow moving zombies. So yeah,
that's true.
Like that.
Dean's super hyped about killing zombies, but he's kind of like suspicious of why Sam would want to go on a hunt right now, because he says, you've been on soul-saving detail for months now, and we're 3 weeks out. So we find a timestamp. Finally! Oh my gosh, a timestamp in Supernatural is like finding gold.
Speaking of, what do you care about zombies?
What do you mean?
Well, you've been on soul-saving detail for months now, and we're 3 weeks out, and all of a sudden you're interested in some hot zombie action?
So 3 weeks away from the
D-Day.
Yeah. And so he wants to know why they're going. Sam kind of turns it back on him, because Dean's been all like, let's hunt everything. So Sam's like, I thought you wanted to hunt everything. And you can't really say like, oh yeah, but it's only 3 weeks away and I'm real scared, Sam. Like, maybe we should be doing just demon stuff for now, because that's not who Dean is it? So they're gonna go.
Yeah. Yeah, I do love how Dean's like, hey, no. I didn't say I didn't want to do it. I just want to know why you want to do it.
It's so like, I'm not talking about my feelings. Let's talk about your feelings.
Yeah.
It's just, it's so silly.
There are some really good interactions. Like this next one. Mm-hmm. So they're going to go do the hunt, obviously.
Yeah.
And they're in the coroner's lab. They're asking about like, did they find teeth marks and all this other stuff? And the coroner's just like not having it. He's like, did you not read my report? Like, it was surgically cut out. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
The liver was not ripped out. It was removed surgically by someone who knew their way around a scalpel. Mm-hmm. And Dean's like, of course you did. It was riveting. It was a real page turner. And the coroner just doesn't believe them at all. The vet just says, please go away. And they both respond with, okay and sure. And that's the end of that whole scene. I'm like, that's amazing. That's truly amazing. I really enjoyed that.
You done?
I think so.
Please go away.
Okay, sure.
I love it, and I'm completely on the coroner's side here. As someone who writes reports and expects people to read them, if you come to me and ask me stupid questions about things that should have been in a report, I'm going to send you away.
Especially when it's something like a teeth mark versus, like, that would have been in the report.
Yeah, no mercy. He calls them morons. He's like, oh, you're cops as well as morons. No, I love this. It's great. The coroner guy, all the awards. He looks so done.
And so they're outside the hospital, and they're like, okay, I guess, like, it can't really be a zombie because, the whole scalpel thing. I don't know. Sam makes some giant leaps. Because he's like, okay, so it's not a zombie. Maybe we're on the wrong track. We should be looking at for hacked up corpses. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, well, maybe we should look for survivors. Like,
but that's because he knows.
Yeah, that's true.
He knows what's going on. And, like, we're so used to Sam making, like, ridiculous leaps. Like, I didn't question it at all, and neither did Dean.
No, not at all. And I was like, well, if it's organ theft, why is this a supernatural case?
Right, exactly. Because Sam knows. He's a sneaky boy.
Yeah. I'm guessing Sam and Dean were not having a good day because the patient's not having them either.
Yeah. Right?
He's just like, I dealt with the cops yesterday. I don't want to talk about this.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, can you tell us what happened? And he's like, I don't remember a thing. I woke up in an ice bath. Like,
Yeah, because this dude got his kidney stolen and he managed to survive. So, I mean, yeah, why does he have to talk about it over and over again if he doesn't want to? They're here asking him questions. They clearly look like they're 12 dressed in suits that don't quite fit them.
Yeah.
Like, why would you take them seriously with their FBI badges?
I like the line of like Dean saying to the guy, do you remember anything about the surgery? You know, what the guy looked like? Any details about the room? And the patient's like, let me think. Yeah, one thing is coming back to me. You know what I remember? Getting my kidney cut out of my body. Just love it.
Let me think about that. Yeah. One thing is coming back to me. You know what I remember? Getting my kidney cut out of my body.
I love it. Like, they're not having any luck with this case or any of the people on it. Like, everyone's sick of their shit.
Right, exactly. Maybe the coroner and the patient are related in some way. They have the same grumpy, like, Leonard McCoy gene.
Yeah. I mean, also, like, I completely understand that. Like, you can live with one kidney. Like, people do it all the time.
But it was still yours and it got stolen.
Yeah, no, the whole situation. And, like, without anesthesia by the sounds of it.
Oh.
Like, yeah, no, that doesn't sound like a good time.
So they're back at the motel. Sam's researching. Dean's eating a burger. I was really happy with this because he does the exact same thing that I do when I get a burger and like turn it the whole way around to see which side is like the best side to start eating with. And I just watched him do it and I was like, oh yeah, I do that. Do you do that? Do you turn your burger? Yeah, right?
Yeah, because you need to know which side everything's going to fall out of. So you got to eat that side first.
I just love that little attention to detail. Just like, oh, you're turning the burger. I don't know what it
It makes him like an actual human. I think that's what it is.
I think so, because no one just picks it up and bites it. No one does that with food. Everyone, like, if you're eating something, you pick it up and you look at it first, right? I don't know. It's just anyway, I liked it. Small moments. And Sam says he's got a theory, because he always has a theory. And he said, I talked to Mr. Giggles' doctor. Okay, fine. And he said that his incisions were sewn up with silk. And this turns out to be like a really old technique from the 19th century that like used to cause infections. So that's why they don't use it anymore. One way they could keep these infections from spreading is maggots. And like Dean's like, I'm eating, please stop. I love this because Sam has such like a look of glee while he's like explaining all this like really gross medical stuff. Mm-hmm. You could see he explains that like maggots eat bad tissue, they leave good tissue. Interestingly, they do actually still use this for some infections.
Yep. Burn victims.
Yeah. They also do stuff like use leeches and things as well. There's a lot of like old-timey medicine that you consider, to be long gone that people still use because actually it's the best, way of doing things, really.
Exactly. And it's not like they're like medical insects, so they're kept in sanitary places. They're not just like dug up out of the dirt.
They don't go to the swamp and pick up some leeches. Like, that doesn't happen. They're like born and raised in a lab in like a sterile environment. Yeah. He explains that this was used on this guy. I'm not going to go too far into it. And Dean like continually says like, I'm eating. but then he kind of says something pings in Dean's mind. He's like, why does this all sound super familiar?
So people are getting ganked. Yeah. Right? Little Antiques Roadshow surgery, some organ theft. Why is this all sounding familiar?
Because you heard it before. When you were a kid. From Dad.
Sam says it's because it's from Dad in his journal. Doc Benton. So Doc Benton is a real-life doctor who lived in New Hampshire. He was also an alchemist. And then in 1816, he stopped because basically he had become immortal.
Right.
He's like Nicholas Flamel from Harry Potter. He'd done the thing that he was trying to do. No one heard from this guy for like 20 years, and then suddenly people started showing up dead because although he was immortal, his body was still aging. So basically this guy had to replace parts, like on a car.
Yes.
And I wrote here like, oh, I see what they're doing. He's Dr. Frankenstein and the monster.
Oh.
Yeah, it was working because he was still alive. And eventually John hunted him down and removed his heart to try and stop him. But then Sam says, well, I guess he found a new one and carried on fine. Really interesting though. I thought about this. If the guy clearly can function without a heart, like there's a lot in this, and it's very, very confusing because he can't die, but his body is degenerating, which kind of puts it. Maybe I'll talk more about this, about what happens to this guy. But
yeah,
I'm like, there must be a point where he's not alive anymore.
Yeah, there's definitely some very unanswered questions with this particular monster.
Yeah.
Like, I have one thing really bugged me about this.
Okay.
I'll get to it when we get to it.
Okay. So Sam knows where he's going to be because of Dad's journal. He likes a cabin in the woods, very, retro, near a stream or a river to like get rid of body parts. And Sam's smiling while he's saying all this disgusting stuff because he's like, "Have you lost your appetite yet?" And Dean like looks down at the burger and says like, "Oh baby, I can't stay mad at you." Oh, I love this so much.
Lost your appetite yet?
Oh, baby, I can't stay mad at you.
The thing is, like, for everything that they deal with, that really wouldn't turn his appetite off, surely.
No.
Like, Sam was doing all of this to, like, get under his skin. Because I'm guessing, like, he gets tired of Dean's, like, shit.
I mean, yeah, totally.
We're now at night and we're following this jogger, and he has one of those like heart monitor things. You can like hear it beeping. And he's jogging, and then he stops, looks at his monitor, ties his shoes, sees it's undone, and then gets chloroformed.
Look, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Chloroform doesn't work this way. Doesn't work this way. Do you know how long it takes to knock someone out with chloroform, even if it's on a like handkerchief? Way longer than this.
I don't know. I have no clue. I do have another question for you in particular later on.
I know exactly what that question is, and I've already discussed it with my husband, who we are science nerds. We have discussed it, and we both decided, yes, it's rubbish, but I'll talk to you when we get back.
Okay. I'm glad, because I was like, I'm pretty sure this is not
No,
a thing.
it's not. Don't worry.
Yeah, no,
There's several reasons why.
One being like evaporation is a thing. Anyway.
Right, yeah. Anyway, we'll get to it. So, in the motel, which is they're staying in the Erie. So they've got this map, which first of all, what is this map?
Yeah. I don't know.
They've looked at maps before that have looked like maps. This looks like a map you would get when you like arrive at a holiday park. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's what it is. I mean, okay, fine. Sam's found some cabins. Awesome. Good job, Sam. And they're just about to go when Bobby rings.
Bobby's called and he says he thinks he's finally caught up with Bella. Bobby says Rufus Turner. He's a hunter, or he used to be, and that he's a hermit that lives up in Vermont. And Rufus has said to Bobby that a woman got in touch and wanted to buy some things, and she'd used an old alias. Mm-hmm. Dean is somewhat suspicious that she's used an old alias, that they've gone to someone who may or may not know Bobby.
Yeah.
Bobby's like, well, it's unlikely. They haven't spoken in like 15 years. And so Dean's like, okay, we're gonna go to Vermont. That's what we're gonna do. Bobby then tells him to take a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue.
Yeah.
Some good old whiskey.
I thought it's really interesting, this interaction they have here, because Dean's like literally getting on his jacket as he's talking to Bobby, like, let's go. Mm-hmm. Like getting his duffel bag. And yes, Sam doesn't want to go because Dean's like, he literally says, clock's ticking, we got to go. And Sam wants to stay and finish the case. It's really interesting where they think the resolution to this lies, because Dean wants to go get the Colt. Dean basically wants to go down swinging. He's always said this. Mm-hmm. Like he said this in a previous episode. I wish I could remember which one. But, he thinks if he can get the Colt, he at least has a chance to fight at least till the end and, not kind of give in to fate. He can try and fight against it. Whereas Sam eventually gives up that he knew about this case all along from the first kind of moments that they went on it. He wasn't completely sure, but most of the things confirmed it. What he's looking for is time rather than a weapon, because he wants to make Dean immortal. Which is wild.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of goes, what I was saying last week with trying to find other solutions. Like, they could have taken his soul with the Corcotter thing. So now he's, Sam has changed his options. And, I wonder if this is like, because the case came up, he thought about it rather than like, actually, this is a solution.
I think so. I think it's opportunistic.
Yeah,
I don't think Sam was out there looking for this specific case. He might have wondered about it because maybe it's coming up to the 20-year mark of this cycle, this Dr. Benson guy, but was like, happened to hear about it. It is interesting to me because I don't actually think immortality would solve this problem, because who's to say that the demons couldn't take Dean's soul anyway and leave his body? I mean, we don't know that yet in canon, that can happen, that your body can live without a soul. But what's interesting, if this plan had worked, I don't think it would have actually solved the soul issue.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. It's not true immortality either.
No.
Like, we don't really know what is actually keeping this guy alive.
Exactly. I mean, they kind of allude to it later, but we never find out the answer.
It's just a formula, right?
Exactly. There's some good lines here, because Dean accuses Sam of lying to him about zombies. Sam says, like, I was trying to find some answers, and Dean says, no, what you're trying to do is chase Slicey McHackey.
No, all you're trying to do is chase Slicey McHackey here. And to kill him? No, you want to buy him a freaking beer. You want to study him.
And kill him, which I feel like was Boaty McBoatface before Boaty McBoatface. Slicey McHackey, like...
It's funny also because, like, they both go on to do, like, slasher movies.
Yeah.
In 2008 too.
Yeah.
It's just funny. Dean becomes Slicey McHackey.
You're right, actually, yeah. Oh, I love my Billy Valentine, actually. I need to rewatch that. Dean says, like, you forget that if I welch on this deal, you die. Guess what? Living forever is welching. And Sam's like, fine, I'll be immortal too then.
Guess what? Living forever is welching.
Fine, then whatever the magic pill is, I'll take it too.
Oh, what is this, Sid and Nancy?
Kind of reiterates that he wants to go and get the cult, kill the demon who owns the contract, end this thing. Bobby agrees with Dean, which I didn't know. We haven't really known that before, but he says, like, it's like Bobby's been saying. So clearly, like, Bobby's up on this plan. Because they don't have any idea. Sam asks that, and Dean kind of reiterates what I was saying about going down swinging. He's like, well, if I can't find who does it, at least I can kill some hellhounds. And then they, like, split up. It was the worst time.
Like, it almost feels like they're saying goodbye, right?
Because they are. Dean's worried about Sam going to get killed by this Doc Benton in the woods. Sam's thinking, if Dean manages to find the cult or doesn't manage to find the cult, like, what if they never meet back up again after this? It's only 3 weeks. Like, who says we're ever going to find each other again after this? Like, this would literally be the last time they ever see each other, and they're arguing about it.
The how Sam says it's like, how are you going to stop me? The look that Dean gives him is like, I guess he's so bewildered by it. Like, he doesn't understand why Sam's not on board with going after the cult.
It's like, I read this moment of, like, Sam pushing back on Dean's, like, whims. It's kind of like the moment you, like, have a kid and you're like, oh no, this person's a fully an adult now. Yeah. I think that was the moment that Dean was going through with Sam. It's like, oh no, he's no longer a child. He's like, he's actually challenging Dean at this point, because he does look quite shocked.
But then at the same time, I mean, of course, like, last week's episode was not great, but they split up in that one too. They have different methods, but they are aiming for the same results. Whereas in the last week's episode, Sam was going after the monster of the week, purely to just go after the monster of the week. And Dean was going to try and, like, find the solution that, quote unquote, John gave him.
It was a similar situation, though. You're right. Sam was trying to solve the case, and Dean was trying to solve the demon situation. In this case, it's just more extreme because there doesn't seem to be any, like, coercion involved. It's just showing that they are splitting apart, like, ideologically, because normally Dean would be ready to save these people ahead of himself. He actually has finally shifted into caring about himself more than others for, like, 3 weeks.
Yeah. And also, I think revenge is more on his mind than himself, actually, because it's a chance to get the cult back. And he already told him that, like, she has the cult and he can kill her. It's a win-win. I think that's what he says, something like that.
Dean, there's no way she still has the cult. That was months ago. She probably sold it the second she got it.
Well, then I'll kill her. Win-win.
That's on his mind. Like, kill Bella, get the cult.
We talk about why he's so mad at Bella, and I think we'll get to it. I don't know. It strikes me as weird.
It is a little extreme for what she's done some pretty bad things. But I don't think she deserves the level of violence aimed towards
Right?
her.
Yeah, it's super, I don't know, it's like out of character. But we'll get there. So before they leave, obviously, they have to have like a moment because Dean turns to Sam and says, like, Sammy, be careful. And Sam says, like, you too. And it's like, ah.
Do you think that's a bit of like a I love you, bro? You too.
You know, you have a huge fight, but if it's the last time you're possibly going to see each other, you can't let it end like that. It's almost like, you know, yeah, love you, bro. I do like that. It is.
Sammy, be careful.
You too.
So we get to meet another one of my boys. Because I truly love Rufus, and I'm so sad he's only in it for like 2 seasons. Rufus just answers the intercom by saying, what?
What?
Hi, Rufus.
Yeah, even if I am,
The question is still the same. What?
Dean confirms that it's Rufus. So Rufus is like, okay, even if I am, the question still stands. What? Dean says, I'm Dean Winchester, a friend of Bobby's. So.
I'm Dean Winchester. I'm a friend of Bobby Singer's.
So?
You called him this morning.
So?
You called him this morning. So. And, like, Dean doesn't know how to respond to any of this. And I don't know why. I guess because he's not face-to-face with somebody. It's just, like, there's a CCTV camera that's faced at him. He's just talking to an intercom. Like, he can't be charming. He just has to, like, give answers. And I guess he doesn't like doing that.
That's totally it. Dean can't rely on his charm here. You know, he's come up against an immovable object.
Rufus is not giving him anything.
Yeah.
Not a single thing. And he says, look, man. And then Rufus opens the door and is like, let me point something out to you. You're knocking up my door, so don't look, man, me. I'm not your man.
Let me point something out to you. You are knocking at my door, so don't look, man, me. I'm not your man.
There's something about that just resonates with me. Just like, if you're coming to me for something and I don't want to do it, you can go bump off.
It's so true. I don't know how they established really quickly that Rufus's color is blue. Have you seen, like, did you notice this? He was wearing a blue shirt. He had like a cereal bowl with him. When they have like drinks, so the glasses are blue. Johnny Walker blue. I don't know what it is, but they very much firmly decided that Rufus's color was blue.
That's true. I didn't actually make that connection.
I don't know what it means.
I don't know what it means either.
I have a suggestion, which I'll bring up in a moment.
So Rufus explains that, like, Bobby called me, asked if a Bela Talbot ever came calling, if he got a whiff. He got a whiff. I called. The end. Like, that's it. And then Rufus wants him to leave. And Dean's like, well, it's a shame because I have this drink and, like, what am I going to do? And he changes his mind. Like, he's got, like, this huge grin on his face. It's amazing. I love the smile.
Yeah.
So they're then inside and they have drank more than half of this bottle. Now, I don't know. I didn't look at how much alcohol is in the Johnny Walker Scotch, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty high proof. Like, it's going to get you drunk. And neither of them are that drunk.
Yeah, they don't seem that drunk.
And because they're drinking that neat. There's not a mixer in that. They were just straight chugging it. That tells you about how much both of them drink.
Absolutely. That is definitely very telling.
I feel like they, quote unquote, act drunk with each other, but I don't think they are.
No, I don't think so. I think their tolerance is very high, which you're right, says a lot about how much they drink normally. And we kind of have alluded to that before, that, like, Dean definitely has a drinking problem.
Yes.
Even before he went to hell. With my colour theory thing, so saying that Rufus's colour is blue, as they're sat down here, you can see his desk in the background, and it has things like an American flag, it has a computer, it has like a baseball and a Rolodex of cards. Now on the wall, there's like 2 framed badges, and one kind of looks like a sheriff's badge, I thought. So I wonder, although they never say it, I don't think, I wonder if he used to be law enforcement, which is why they're like blue.
Could also be Navy as well.
That's true, yeah. It's just the badges. The badges make me think he's like used to be a cop. So yeah, they're drinking. They're both talking about how good the whiskey is. Dean says it's a nice change because most of my whiskey comes from a plastic jug. I've never seen whiskey in a plastic jug. Is that an American thing?
I have no idea what he's talking about.
Maybe this means moonshine. I could see moonshine being in a plastic jug. So, yes, Bella was here, and Dean asked where she is now. And then Rufus turns the tables on Dean and says, why are you even asking? You've only got 3 weeks left. And Dean's like, what? I don't know such things. I love Rufus. He's so, like, straight and, like, he just like, yes, gets to the point of, like, look, I know things.
Yeah. He's like, I know a lot of things about a lot of people. And he's like, that pea shooter isn't going to save you.
Yeah.
Because I feel like he's referring to the cult, but I think he's talking about all their weapons.
Yeah.
Especially with the line that he says, because he says that's the job, kid. Even if you manage to scrape out of this one, there's going to be something else down the road. Folks like us, there ain't no happy ending, or we all got it coming.
Folks like us, there ain't no happy ending. We all got it coming.
This so succinctly tells you about what the show is about.
Yeah.
Because at this point, we haven't really seen this in effect. Because the first season was finding John, right? And he's just a human, whatever.
Yeah.
The second season was about finding Yellow Eyes, which, okay, he's a powerful demon, but not that powerful. And then this season, you know, it's not quite the same. It's all just about Dean going to hell.
Yeah.
But then after this, the big bad just keeps getting bigger.
Right? I think Rufus knows that hunting is a death sentence.
Yeah.
You're right. It might not be this thing that gets you, but it's going to be the next thing. You manage to get out of this one, it's going to be the next thing, and the thing after that, and the thing after that. Even if you get out of it, because he says, like, I'm what you've got to look forward to if you survive.
I'm what you've got to look forward to if you survive.
And, you know, Rufus clearly, he doesn't look like a happy man, right? His house is in a bit of disarray. Like, he has files everywhere. Like, he's still working. Like, he's still hunting, although he's, like, not supposed to be. You know, he's clearly drinking. So even if you manage to get out of hunting, which Rufus clearly hasn't completely done, he's still in contact with Bobby, he's still dealing with Bella, etc. What do you have to look forward to after that? Because probably most of the people you know have died because they're also hunters. And you end up alone, you know, trying the best you can to help other people. But it's kind of a sad, a sad ending. This is why it makes Rufus's, I'm going to talk about it a little bit, why it makes Rufus's ending in the show actually worse. Because he tried to get out and then was pulled back in and then died because of it. And he knew that was going to happen. Like he says here, you know, there's no happy ending in this. Like he knew if he ever got back into hunting, I think he knew that he would be killed.
At the same time, I think he's not happy either.
That's true.
It's either be not happy alone or hunting with other people. And I feel like the hunter mentality is to go down swinging. Like everybody wants it that way. And unfortunately, he does go out swinging, but not in the way that he would hope.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just going to say this point one more time because I've said it multiple times before. This is why it would have been better to have a different ending to Supernatural because they would have bucked the trend.
Yeah.
Right. Because hunters know hunting gets you killed in the end, or all your friends die and you've got kind of nothing left to fight for. And then the show proved it right. So
we get this really short scene with Sam. He's pulling up to like the map area that he looked at and gets out of the car. And like the one detail I liked about this is him like turning around to like lock the car because you never see that. Like they never lock the Impala.
Just a boop boop. Yeah, I loved it too. I agree with you.
Then we're back at Rufus's place and he gives Dean the location of where Bella is staying. This next thing
I knew.
Let's put it this way. None of it's true. I don't know what Sarah Gamble was on.
What are you talking about? Like, what is this? Who
She
told
just
you?
made up the whole thing about British, like, forensics.
Surveillance?
They could have gone with facial recognition.
Yeah, because we do have that. Okay, I think where this has come from is that there was very much a vibe, I feel, from the rest of the world that England has incredible surveillance of their citizens compared to other countries. There's a lot of CCTV cameras in the UK. That is true. There are a lot. Compared to America, there are way more CCTV cameras in the UK. But nowhere has a database of your ears.
Yeah. So apparently, ears are as unique as fingerprints.
I mean, maybe that might be true. I don't know.
I don't
know enough about ears.
Okay, we'll give them that. And the American courts aren't into it, but the UK people, absolutely. And like,
I know of zero people who have been convicted on an ear print in the UK court. Also, how does this take into account things like ear stretching? You know, that was a really big trend at the time of this episode. What if your hair is over your ears, like, all the time? Should I be wearing my hair over my ears? Are the British government looking at my ears? That's private, guys.
They have your whole entire face, but not your ears.
Not my ears. They're private. It's nonsense, and I love it because it's clearly nonsense. But he could have even said like, "Oh, I tracked her face through Interpol." Like, do you know that would have actually been like a legitimate thing? Like, oh, it makes total sense that Interpol would know about Bella because it's a European agency.
Oh, an international.
International. Sorry, the name is in the name.
This whole ear thing, I was like, what? What is this? Because at first I was like, the way it made it sound was like fingerprints were comparable to ear prints. Yeah. Not like ears themselves.
That's what I thought too.
So I was like, they're not like, you know how they ink your fingers and like I was like, they don't like roll on the ink to your ear like make you when you get booked. They don't do that.
What's funny to me is I was like, the only time I've ever been fingerprinted is entering America. So it's not...
Me too.
Yeah, right? It's not like the UK is keeping like a massive database of all our fingerprints and ear prints, apparently. I don't know.
But apparently it worked because Rufus needed was one clear shot of her ear, and obviously with the surveillance cameras, he had that. And now he has 10 pages of confidential files on her. And the file that he hands over is the thickest paper I have ever seen for 10 pages.
One more point on this. Bella nearly exclusively wears her hair down.
Yep. When she gets nervous, she does put her
she
hair
does do the
behind her
tuck, the nervous tuck. So Sam enters the cabin. He finds the dead body of the guy who had been jogging earlier, and like, we didn't go through it because it's kind of gross. He got his heart taken out by Doc Benton, and it's super gross.
It is very gross.
I did make a point of saying, oh no, not an episode where people are literally losing part of themselves. Like, could we be more on the nose here? Especially the heart. The whole scene that they focused on was literally having your heart ripped out. That's definitely not saying anything about what's going to happen later on.
No, not at all. Because we all know Dean and Hearts.
Look, yes. I'm here for it. He finds this guy who obviously clearly died from this procedure. Mm-hmm. It was gross.
I will say one thing. He's covered in a sheet and his chest region is all covered in blood. Yeah. And Sam goes to check his pulse.
Look, he's an optimist. We established this.
That's very true.
Sam finds a woman who's had her arm cut open. I'm not sure what for, maybe tendons or something gross.
To me, it looked like he was trying to take the skin.
Yeah. I mean, the Doc Benton looks like Frankenstein's monster. He's all like a patchwork man. Yeah. So yeah, that would kind of make sense, I guess. You know, Sam kind of wakes her up, but is telling her to be quiet. This bit was actually really tense. I found it really tense because the doctor shows back up while he's trying to keep this woman calm and quiet after she's just woken up to this horrific thing happening to her. You know, the doc's coming closer and closer, and I actually felt like, oh no, Sam's gonna get captured. But luckily, as the doctor comes in, they're gone, but he notices there's a window open. Sam saves the day. He saves the woman and puts her into his car. He goes to start the car, and then the doctor's there. He kind of manages to grab Sam and hit him against the wheel and stuff. I don't know why. I think Sam's just so badass in this. I think that's why I like it so much. She's just shoves the doctor, puts the car into gear, and then hits him. And then the guy kind of gets back up again, and they do this really funny thing that they kind of do in Western movies where they kind of zoom in on Sam's face. He kind of narrows his eyes slightly. It's oh yeah, he's going to run him over.
So this is the only jump scare that I got is when he smashed the window open.
Oh, no, this was not the moment for me. I knew he was going to catch up with them.
I wasn't expecting the glass smash, and I was like, oh God. Yeah, that's what got me.
So, I mean, he fully runs him over. But obviously we see this guy get up as the car goes into the distance and his neck's broken and he kind of like fixes it back into place. We see Bella go into her hotel and Dean is there waiting for her, being super aggressive. I'm not here for it. I'm not actually here for it. He points a gun at her. He kind of like frisks her as well to find out if she has the colt on her. She claims that she's sold it, that it's gone across the world. He's mad. He's looking around the room, trying to find it, pointing the gun at her basically the whole time. She does try and sneak out and he like shoots next to her in the door. First of all, she must be staying in a really dodgy hotel for no one to come and check on that. Like, right. Seriously, right? Because he's there for another like full, at least 5 or 10 minutes. And no one's like even shouted like, hey, you know, like, anyway.
Yeah.
So he continues looking and she reiterates that it's gone. Eventually he gets mad enough that he points the gun at her head and basically threatens to, like he's threatening to shoot her. Bella doesn't believe that he's going to do it. She says, you're not the cold-blooded type. And Dean says, you mean like you? That's true. See, I couldn't imagine killing my parents.
Are you going to kill me?
Oh, yeah.
You're not the cold-blooded type.
You mean like you? That's true. See, I couldn't imagine killing my parents.
And Bella's shocked because he shouldn't know this about her. I don't think she thinks anyone should know this about her. She's clearly like tried to bury this. And Dean says that when she was 14, her parents died in a car accident that was very suspicious, like a broken brake line that then sort of set on fire. And it turns out that her name is actually Abby, and she had inherited a lot of money from her parents being in this car accident. And we kind of get this flashback. It's very much implying that Bella was abused as a child. Yeah. Like that's the only thing you can take away from that flashback, which makes everything that happens to her super crappy. And the way Dean treats her is awful. And like that might not have been in the file and he might not know, but like he should understand in some way, like, I don't know, like the fraught relationship you can have with your parents, even if it's not that extreme. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and like he doesn't take into account like how does a 14-year-old, a rich, entitled 14-year-old, know what to do, like cut brake lines? She's not Dean Winchester. She did not work on cars.
No. He clearly thinks she's just some like rich, entitled brat, right, who killed her parents for the money, which is such a judgment to make on Dean's part. He knows nothing about her other than what he's read in that file. I know they've had interactions that have been, she seems very money orientated, but she has eventually come around to help them. They've worked on stuff together where they've helped people. Like, it's not all been bad. But yeah, he makes a snap judgment about her and basically seals her fate, essentially.
I didn't quite understand this. Maybe you have a take on this, but she decides to lean into it.
Yeah.
And says, yeah, they were lovely people and I killed them and I got rich. Do you think she's baiting him because she knows what's going to happen?
No, I think it's... I really don't. I think it's almost like she's throwing it back at him, like, do you really believe this about me? Also, she in no way has to share what happened to her with him. She doesn't need to justify herself in this. They've written him like he's expecting her to like blurt the whole truth about what happened in order to justify her actions, but she in no way has to do that.
No.
And I think for Bella, she's tried to distance herself from that part of her life for years and years and years, right? No one knows about her. She's changed her name. She's changed where she's lived, all this kind of stuff. She's clearly tried to distance herself away from it. And maybe this is the story that she tells herself, you know?
I don't know what the flashback was supposed to do. How does us now, like, knowing her backstory change anything in the rest of this episode?
Yeah.
It doesn't.
No.
If anything, it just makes you more annoyed of how, like you said, how Bella was treated throughout all of season 3.
Yeah. I agree. What they've done is they've like taken a strong character and then they've painted her as a victim in order to have her like crying and pleading in the last scene. That's how I feel about it, actually. And I can understand like why people get so annoyed about this, because it doesn't change the way the other characters respond to her in any way. It's just to make her like a tragic figure, and that's not what this should be about. That's not how you should like portray these kinds of stories, I don't feel.
Her story doesn't make sense, really. They had to kill her off.
Yeah.
They figured, let's give her a demon deal. Let's give her a reason why she would do a demon deal, which is abuse. Hopefully everybody's fine with it. The way that I would have seen her actually making a deal is for something that she wants, that she can't get herself.
They could have fully leaned into her like Catwoman parallel. Bella's shown as being kind of out. She is shown as being out for herself and, you know, trying to build a nice life for herself, etc. Which I actually think makes quite a good character. I really enjoyed her. Like, I really enjoyed her character in that aspect of her. For the same reasons I kind of enjoy Catwoman, actually. Like, yeah, do what you want, girl. Like, you know. But they could have fully leaned into that and have her make a deal, not maybe fully realising the repercussions of it. Because she's supposed to be 24 now, right? I always read her as older anyway. They could have had her as Dean's age and made a deal at like, 18, 21 or whatever. For that kind of reason. But you're right, they're just trying to justify why they're killing her off, and they wanted to give her a demon deal in order to do that, so they came up with this backstory. There's just, I don't know, there's just no need for it. They didn't need to kill off Bella. There's actually even if they weren't going to take her character into the 4th season, there was actually no need to kill her off at all, because she could have taken the cult and run, right? She could have, there's a lot of they needed her to take the cult. Okay, just have her take it. Like, it's just...
I mean, she still could have done what she did with the cult. You know, lean into that self-serving character aspect.
Yeah.
So she gave the cult to, we find out it's Lilith.
Yeah.
In exchange of her, like, having freedom. Like, demons are not going to go after her.
Yeah. That works as well without her having made a deal. I don't know. And I feel like it adds a tragic aspect to her character that was never fully addressed, so it didn't necessarily need to like be written in that way, and then to have the other characters treat her so badly. The thing is, if she's a survivor of abuse, right, and she clearly has lived a very independent lifestyle from that time on, right, where she's looked out for herself and she seems very self-protective. She doesn't go seeking help from anybody at all. And at the end of this episode, they basically say like, well, if you'd asked for help, we would have helped. You know, we would have helped you. I don't like it. I don't like the message, because it's basically saying like, well, it's your fault. You should have asked for help. And I think it's really toxic, really a poor message on anything, because that's actually not what this should be about at all. Like, it's victim blaming. I get really mad. I got really mad at it when for this final scene of this episode, which I know we're not there yet, but I feel like we should talk about it now.
We'll definitely come back to that, because we will I feel like we're going to go off on a really big tangent if we get into that, because I have some other things to say on that too, and it's just... So
yeah, super mad about it. I mean, we're not there at the end of the episode yet, which is more to get mad about. As Dean leaves, Bella manages to drag something out of his pocket, and it's the receipt for the hotel where him and Sam were staying. And she picks up the phone and says, you know, it all worked. So Dean was right to be suspicious of her in the first place, and says Sam wasn't with him, but now I know where they are.
It worked. He found me. No, Sam wasn't with him. But I know where they are.
Sam's in the motel room. Dean calls him, and, you know, they have a little bit of an exchange. They didn't get the cult. He didn't kill Bella. I don't know. I don't feel sympathy for Dean on this.
No, not at all.
Like, I feel like that's what they were trying to go for. Like, oh, I'm such a hero because I didn't shoot a woman.
Oh, such a pride, Dean. Like, wow.
I didn't kill a person out of cold blood.
What a hero.
You know, Dean is now scared. He says, I'm really screwed, Sammy. It was a wild goose chase. The cult's gone. Sam brings it back and says, hey, look, well, I found Benton's journal, and that he has the formula. Dean then asks him if he killed Benton.
Yeah.
He said no, but he found the book, has a formula, and it's not black magic, it's just science.
Okay.
Sure. Sure, it's just science, Sam. That's how science works. You can live forever by replacing body parts when your heart's not working.
I mean, kind of. Not forever, but you can definitely extend. Look.
Okay, but you can't do surgery on yourself.
No.
But Sam can't really read the formula, like he doesn't quite understand it. But as Sam's talking to Dean, he gets bopped over the head by the doc.
This made me jump. This was
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I was like, ah!
And he drops the phone, and we hear Dean on the other line saying, Sammer.
Well, I mean, look, we're not in the clear yet. There's still things that I don't get.
Sam?
I have to ask. So Sam's read this book, and he's like, I have the secret to eternal life. What does this mean? That Sam has a secret to eternal life? No, I'm just asking. Does Sam know how to like make people immortal?
Well, so he can't read it. So that's what he was saying. He didn't understand like what some of the formula meant.
He says, I have a formula. Like, there are still things I don't get. But like, it seems like he understands most of it. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
There are people later on who would be interested in that formula, and nobody ever asks about it. But I feel like it's funny if Sam just has a secret to immortality that's in his brain through the whole of the, like, other, like, I don't know, what is it now? 12 seasons? It just never tells anyone.
Yeah. He knows it, but he doesn't know it.
But he also knows where it is. So I'm just, all I'm saying is, Rowena would have got that information out of him somehow.
Oh yeah, she would. Oh yeah.
Oh, she'd be all over that. Like,
but she has magic, so she doesn't need science.
Oh, see, magic and science. Where do the two intersect, Annabelle?
This is true. This is very true.
You know, I feel like, I don't know. Rowena probably wanted that book. I can't believe she's just hanging out with Sam and he had the secret to eternal life in his head the whole time and she didn't know. She didn't know.
That's so funny.
I know, right?
I mean, let's be real. Sam forgot.
I don't know. It's yeah. Oh, this next scene, look. I can't deal with things with eyes. Just no, not generally, but things happening to eyes. So I just, so Sam's strapped to a table. He's got his eyes taped open. Don't like it. Doc Benton knows everything about him because he also stole John's journal along with Sam, which is so funny to me. He just knows everything about them. He's saying why he's taped Sam's eyes open because he needs to replace his own because he's got kind of like one cloudy eye that looks, the other one's sort of shut, so they need replacing. And he says, your father cut out my heart. Not touching that one. And and he said, so you can understand the joy I felt when I read all about myself here in this journal. Kind of makes this whole thing feel like some kind of family reunion. And then he gets his like melon baller. I'm so glad it was CGI because it really took me out of the grossness of the moment. And it was like really bad CGI. So I was like, oh, thank goodness. I don't have to actually think about this eye thing.
I am going to think about it for just 1 second.
No. Why, Annabelle?
That thing was hot. Yeah.
Why
Sam would have been blind in that eye.
Why has he still got an eye? He could have had a cool eye patch. We could have gained an eye patch in this episode. What a missed opportunity.
And it was at this point that I was like, burn the body.
Right.
Burn the body. Like, burn the body.
They should be dealing with Doc Benton like he's a zombie. Cut the head off. You know, yeah, burn. Same flower. Like, lots of things. Dean obviously turns up in the nick of time because we can't have one of our main characters with one eye. The continuity alone. Can you imagine they accidentally switched eye patches one episode? Like, the mayhem it would have caused.
It was a mirror episode, guys. They were in the mirror dimension.
They never really did that. I'm really sad they never leaned into a Mirrorverse episode. They kind of did. I'm not counting the French Mistakes and Mirrorverse episode. There was not evil versions. They didn't have beards. So
they had just snooty versions, and they had weird haircuts and scarves.
I love, like, I don't know, privileged savage. Like, I love who are still alive. That is canon and live in that universe. So, so Dean turns up, shoots the doc. He doesn't go down because he's a zombie. Come on, Dean. You wanted to hunt zombies and now you're shooting this guy in the chest. What are you doing, man?
It's a headshot. Everybody knows.
Everybody knows. So eventually the doc gains on him and Dean manages to stab him through the heart. I don't know why I'm putting emphasis on this. It means nothing.
Especially in this episode.
He's stabbing him through the heart that he replaced after John rips it out. That's something. That's something, Annabelle. It's nothing, but also it's something. Start to get a red string out. You know, the doc says, what part of immortality don't you understand? Pity about the heart. It was a brand new one.
Pity about the heart, though. It was a brand new one.
Good. Should be pumping nice and strong.
And Dean's right. This is the look. I knew you were going to ask me about this. I'm just going to go into it. So Dean says it should be pumping nice and strong, and he holds up a bottle of chloroform that he put on the knife to stab him with. Just a moment of silence for chemistry here and physics.
So there have been two very glaring errors in this episode. Ear detection and chloroform. The way that I understand, I don't know anything about science, but the way I understand chloroform is that it evaporates when it comes into contact with air, essentially.
Yeah, it's a solvent. Yeah.
So...
Okay, 1. Chloroform smells extremely strong. So he would have known. I mean, maybe his old place smells like chloroform. That's okay, I'll let that one go. Secondly, as soon as he put it on that knife, especially if it was like, you know, I mean, it's a knife. It's a flat
not
surface. A spoon. Right. It would have immediately have evaporated off. I mean, actually, chloroform's quite dense, so it probably would have just dripped off and not stayed on there at all. It's denser than water, chloroform. So so there's no way there would have been anywhere near enough chloroform to knock someone out on that knife when he stabbed him. I don't even know. What?
Like, there could have been anything else. Like, at first I was like, oh, okay, so he's probably poisoned it, right? He's poisoned it with something, like a belladonna. He could have poisoned it with belladonna.
I don't know, just something else, like, I don't know, something else.
There were so many poisons that were used in 19th century surgery that would not be touched today, that are going to be in his house.
There are several things. First of all, if the guy can live without a heart, why is chloroform even going to affect him?
No.
Why would he even think they would? Why would any poisons affect this guy? You literally just stab him in the heart and he's still walking towards you. It's just what? Look, I'm just I have to suspend my disbelief because like, I was watching this episode and my husband was kind of like casually watching it behind me and we both looked at each other and were like, what? Yeah, which is a good reaction. Yep. So yeah, I mean, Doc Benton collapses, Dean wins. This is Chuck's writing. We know Chuck's not a good writer, so I mean, he would believe this or allow it to happen. Like, how dare he? The Doc wakes up. He's strapped to an operating table, getting his just desserts from Sam and Dean. He's kind of also like pleading with them as well to let him live. But Dean's, again, they're very cold. Like they were in the beginning of this episode, and says, you've been killing people for over 150 years now, and now you got a request? Like, be quiet.
Please. Please what? You've been killing poor bastards for over 150 years, and now you got a request? Shut up.
The Doc offers to help them with immortality, you know, because he can read the formula. He says, forever young, never die, which is a huge lie.
Yeah, like, you're the evidence, pal. Like, you don't look young, mate. You're like the Leatherface, like the original Leatherface.
Yeah.
No. I do like this like little head tilt that they do to like get like, I need to have an aside.
Yeah.
Like, come over here. And sounds like, hey, you know, you're in hell in 3 weeks, but you know, needing a new pancreas in half a century is not that bad. The thing is, with their contacts and stuff, they could probably procure organs.
I would say, with current technology, I think this is actually a good shout, because who knows where medical technology will be in 150 years. They may be able to just grow a pancreas.
You may not even need like an organic one.
Yeah, exactly.
You might even be able to like
one.
3D print it.
Robot Sam and Dean. Beep, boop, beep, boop. I like Metallica.
People are going to be like, who?
Sorry. I don't know where that robot voice came from.
It was great. I loved it.
So, I mean, Sam still wants to do it because he's like, 3 weeks. We have 3 weeks, man. This will at least give us time to figure out what's going on. Dean doesn't want to do it because he says it's not living. And he actually says here, it's like he's been listening to the podcast. He says, to me, this is simple. It's black or white. Human, not human.
Dean, don't you want to live? What he is isn't living. Look, this is simple. Simple? To me it is, okay? Black or white, human, not human.
And then he says, the doc is a freaking monster. I can't do it. I'd rather go to hell. I was like, oh yeah, thanks for listening. Yeah.
Our job here is done.
Yeah.
See you forever. No. Doc Benton is like, oh, you don't understand. I can help you. Mm-hmm. And then they chloroform him again.
Yeah.
And then he says, we're going to go take care of this guy. Help. You can either help or not. It's up to you. Burn the body. This is when I was like, why are they not burning it? What? This is where an explainer would have been nice.
Right. Sometimes you need one, and this is a time.
Yeah. Because we see Doc Benton, he strikes a match. He's obviously not afraid of fire because... And why does he have a match? I don't know. He just does. Turns out he's in a box of some kind. Maybe like a fridge.
I think it's a fridge. And I thought about this. I thought that's a lot. Because it's essentially like the Malik box situation, right?
Yes.
And this is one of the things I'm just like, no, I don't like this. I didn't like the whole Malik box storyline for the same reason, because it's just horrifying to me. I wonder if Dean ever thought about this when they were going through that whole plan and remembering what they did to Doc Benson and thinking what that must have been like. And
I don't think so.
No.
The writing content is not. It's not that.
Look, it's not. The writing's not good, but the character is.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel. That's
true. They are just going to bury him alive.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Let me bring up my final problems with this Monster of the Week. Because at what point? Because they've established that his body deteriorates. That's why he needs to keep replacing it. But there must become a point where it deteriorates enough to not sustain him in some way. So what would happen? Does he become a ghost? There must be, like you said, they could have just burnt his body or whatever, like a zombie. But there must be some kind of level of deterioration that eventually would happen in the fridge that means that he wasn't alive anymore. The immortality doesn't make sense. He can't be immortal. He can't be fully immortal.
Yeah, no, because if he was, he wouldn't have to replace parts.
Yeah, that's not immortality. It's just invulnerability. It's different.
Mm-hmm. They could have added a line saying so he truly isn't actually immortal, he's just invulnerable. Right,
that would have actually made this whole, I wouldn't be having this rant right now.
Because he's not in that box forever.
No.
He will die. Absolutely, he will die. All we know is that it's a formula, but what does the formula do?
It's science, Annabelle. You're not supposed to understand it. Sorry.
I mean, in a supernatural show, clearly they don't understand science.
I mean, look, the chloroform thing has just it's just not, I have no faith that they will ever get science around this show anymore. No faith. So as we zoom out, we see the fridge jangling and the book is there as well. So they're burying the book with Doc Benton, which, I don't know, I would have kept that book.
Yeah, well, maybe they didn't want it to get into the demon's hands or something.
Then burn it. Why are you burying it for?
Since the doc has matches, do you think he would just set himself alight?
Oh, that's dark.
I mean, because it's clear that he doesn't feel anything.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe that's the end of the situation. I don't know. I don't understand why they didn't burn the book or destroy it in some way, unless maybe they were hoping that someone's going to come across it in another 100 years and figure out how to fix Doc Benson. Maybe they're doing some kind of cryo thing on him.
I don't know.
I don't know. This episode doesn't... Look, I like this episode starting, and now I'm like, this episode's dumb.
So, sorry, like, my viewpoint has actually taken over.
Yeah, you
like this episode. There's so many things that don't really make sense that happen, and none of it really gets explained. Like, the monster's not really dead. Mm-hmm. I don't know why they didn't just burn the body.
I don't know.
Burn the book. I mean, this is definitely leaning into them being very cold, because he's, like, yelling and screaming at them, and they just fill up the grave.
But also, we do know that Dean thinks fire can solve problems, so I feel like the fire thing would have been in character. He burnt down Hell House for no other reason than, look, might work.
If the house doesn't exist, the Topper can't exist.
Right, yeah. So that's the end of Doc Benton for now. They could have done a follow-up on this. Maybe they did. I can't remember.
I don't know.
I have some kind of vague inkling that they do, but maybe I'm just misremembering. We'll see.
Maybe you're hoping.
Maybe I'm hoping, you know. Okay, end this episode. Oh,
yeah.
gosh. First of all, they should have called this episode 2 minutes to midnight. It would have made sense, and it fits nicely anyway. So we see Bella, and she goes to a locked door. She picks it, she gets a gun out, and she shoots the 2 beds that look like they have people sleeping in them. It shows on a clock, like a radio alarm by the beds, that it is 4 minutes to midnight. And as she pulls back the covers to check what she's done, she sees a blow-up doll and another one on both the beds. The phone rings and she picks it up. It's Dean, I guess, ringing to taunt her. Why did he call her?
I don't know.
I've said some stuff already. But, you know, he says, fun fact, I felt your hand in my pocket when you swiped that motel receipt. And Bella tries to say, like, you don't understand what's going on. And Dean says, oh, he understands perfectly. I noticed something interesting in the hotel room. Devil's shoestring above the door. And it did point that out when he was with her, like, so it could, like a branch. And he said, it's for holding hellhounds at bay. So you know what I did? I looked at your folks' obit. Turns out they died exactly 10 years ago. You didn't kill them. A demon did your dirty work. You made a deal, didn't you, Bella? And it's come due. Again, he's making a lot of assumptions here that, you know, she didn't want to kill her parents herself, so she got a demon to do it. Mm-hmm. And the flashback kind of shows that's not the case either, because the demon's in the form of a girl younger than her and is kind of offering her a way out, essentially. Yeah. And I mean, 10 years to a 14-year-old seems like a really long time.
It really does. Mm-hmm. It really does. One thing I want to point out as well, this devil's shoestring never brought up again.
Nope.
No idea where that came from, because all they've ever known is goofer dust, which they don't know how to make. Mm-hmm. How the hell do they know what it was?
I can only assume that in the time that they've been looking to help Dean, they came across it one time, but they never explained it. I know.
And they never use it again.
Never use it again.
So yeah, we get another flashback, and like I said, Bella's there, and what happened? Because Bella is not integral to the supernatural story in any way for her to be deserving of a demon, Crossroads demon, specifically because they have the red eyes.
Yeah.
To come visit her.
I think the kind of vibe is that Crossroads demons just prey on vulnerable people, which, you know, Bella's made out to be here, and they're opportunistic. So we saw that with the original Crossroads demon episode, that they kind of like were summoned, but then made loads of deals with other people just because they had the opportunity to.
That's true. So someone else could have summoned it, and then they, okay, all right, I'll give you that one. Yeah.
Dean accuses her of stealing the Colt so she could try and get out the deal, like, our gun for your soul. And Bella says, yeah, that was the deal, you know. And then once she'd handed over the Colt, they did what most, like, loan sharks do and changed the deal again and said that now she needed to kill Sam. Not Dean, just Sam. Which I guess kind of points to who it is. Mm-hmm. Again, Dean's really unsympathetic and said, oh yeah, demons are untrustworthy, what a shocker. That's kind of a tight deadline too. Look at that, it's almost midnight. Like, really unsympathetic. Like, he is facing the same fate as her.
Yep.
He is scared of it, and yet he's like taunting her in her last minutes of life. I'm not here for this Dean. I don't like it. I think he's awfully written here, and it's cruel to the point of being out of character.
But it's not.
No.
Because the idea that... he's forgetting that she's 14. Mm-hmm. That for some reason that's not connecting, which I don't agree with. But it's the idea of killing your parents, which is getting to him, because he's all about family. So the concept that somebody would allow a demon of all things to kill your parents is what is the thing that's getting to him, and the reason why he has no sympathy.
Yeah.
It still doesn't really make sense, because, like, I mean, I agree with you. Bella has no reason to tell them the full story, and he shouldn't be making these assumptions about her.
What's interesting to me is that Sam never steps in all of this. Like, they're in the car. I think Sam is driving. I'm not sure. Might be doing driving, still on the phone. I'd like to think he was on the phone and driving, but it probably is. I feel like they should have involved Sam in this. It's interesting that it's between Bella and Dean. They were very much trying to set this up as a romance, and they're kind of like killing that dead.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
But I feel like Sam's generally the voice of reason, and he says nothing about this, or like, you know, how Dean's reacting to Bella. You know, because Bella starts crying and says, like, I need your help. And he says, sweetheart, we are weeks past help.
Dean, listen, I need help.
Sweetheart, we are weeks past help.
I know I don't deserve it.
You know what, you're right, you don't. But you know what the bitch of the bunch is?
If you would have just come to us sooner and asked for help, we probably could have taken the colt and saved you.
And Bella says, like, I know I don't deserve it. Dean's like, you know, you're right, you don't. But he said, if you would have come to us sooner and asked for help, we probably could have taken the colt and saved you. Which is what I was saying earlier, that I really don't agree with this line, because it's blaming her for her own situation.
And also, she has no reason to go to them.
No. Why should she trust them at all?
Every time they've interacted, they have threatened her with death.
Yes.
Every time they've interacted for screwing them over.
Yeah.
Which is a really big overreaction.
Yeah, it really is.
Okay, yeah, like, you don't like her philosophy. Fine. You don't like that she stole from you. Fine. You do not get to decide that she's worthy of death, and this is exactly what this line is.
Yeah, it is. And they are basically saying that, you know, she dug her own grave, essentially, so they're not going to do anything to help her. I mean, it's too late to help her at this point. I do understand that. But this phone call is unnecessarily, like, taunting and, like, just awful, generally.
He had a better understanding of the guy with the goofer dust. I can't remember what his name, the artist.
Yes. He
had more respect for that guy than he does Bella, who's actually helped them a lot.
Exactly. I think part of it is because she did take away the cult and the means to kind of get out of this deal. But again, I don't think it warrants this response. It's like a bummer, but it probably wouldn't have saved him anyway. I don't know. I know he sees it as his only, like, his last chance, I guess, the cult. So you can kind of understand the anger of her stealing it. That would have a big reaction. But I still don't think this is a proportionate punishment.
No, not at all.
Right. I mean, even in Bella's last moment, she actually helps them, owing to the point that she has helped them in the past, because she says to Dean, like, I know about your deal, and Dean's like, how do you know about that? And she's the demon that holds it, she holds mine too, she holds every deal, and then names her as Lilith. So, hey, we were kind of right. We were asking, like, I couldn't remember who it was, and we were like, Alistair, Lilith? Okay, yes, Lilith. And Dean says, Lilith, why should I believe you? At this point, Sam does look at him like, what, Lilith? And Bella says, you shouldn't believe me, but it's the truth. And Dean questions why she's helping them. And she says, like, because, like, maybe you can solve the problem. Like, I don't understand why he's questioning. The thing is, he's got such a low opinion of her at this point that her even helping them in her last kind of moments in any way just seems outrageous. And it's just, it's just such a, I'm so mad at it, Annabelle. I'm so mad at it.
Yeah, and there's no reason for it. The idea that he could be grateful for the information is beyond him. That's what it kind of comes to. And it's not right. Bella definitely deserved more than this.
Yes.
I would have liked to, like I said, she did not need to be killed in this. They could have just not written her back into season 4.
Yeah.
And, like, have her come up in, like, season 5, and then they could, like, argue this out.
There's a lot of things they could have done. Like, she could have been killed through her association with the Winchesters, and kind of showing what a big deal, they were to the demons I know that would have been kind of like killing her for man pain, which we generally frown upon. But, you know, like through her association with Lilith, you know, or Lilith finding out that she knew them, because she was targeting people that had contact with them. You know, look at Victor and what happened with him. She essentially, you know, Bella helped set that up too. That could have been a whole thing. Like, how long has Bella been associated with Lilith for? Maybe she had set them up to be arrested so they could be found at the police station. That would have been an interesting twist, right? You know, so they could have had her actually become an antagonist, right? Yep. Rather than getting this line between, because they were almost becoming friends at one point before she stole the cult. They were almost becoming friends. They could have made her a full antagonist by her properly going over to Lilith's side. And then I would have accepted that if she'd never just been in season 4 again.
And also, like, lean into... So we already know that, you know, witches make pacts with demons to get their power. Turn her into a witch.
That would have been cool.
She was already halfway... not halfway there, but she was already somewhat there because, you know, using her magical spirit board that can speak to very specific spirits.
Right. I just feel like there's a lot of things they could have done without making her like a victim.
Yeah.
But then they like to do that to women on Supernatural. They like to make women victims on Supernatural. Like, it starts with Mary and just continues on, like Jess and all these women in Supernatural so far.
Reoccurring ones, because Cassie wasn't a victim. Cassie was pretty badass.
That's true.
Sarah wasn't a victim, and she was pretty badass too.
So yeah, the reoccurring women in Supernatural.
The representation, the actual representation.
Yeah, actually having, you know, women in your ensemble cast. Again, it just makes me think of Charlie. I'm more angry about Charlie still. I don't know how we're ever going to talk about that without me fully like shouting into the mic. But it's the same kind of, I don't know, I feel the same level of like disrespect for the character almost. I mean, again, Charlie is really different. Truly a beloved character. Whereas I feel like people's opinions on Bella while this season was airing was very mixed. But I think everyone agreed in the end that her ending was bad.
Yeah, especially in retrospect. Yeah, I mean, you know, thinking of other recurring female characters, we only have Ellen and Jo. We haven't seen them throughout the whole of this season, so we don't know how they would have been written. And
no one really questioned why they weren't in it. You know, again, they could have just done this with Bella. They've already done it with 2 women in the show, so why not one third?
I mean, I guess the reason why we didn't really hear from them is because they don't have a base anymore, because the Red House is gone. Or you could do the same thing. Bella just lost everything to the demons or whatever. Like,
on the run from Lilith, because, you know, she didn't manage to go through with the deal they'd like come up with. I don't know. There's lots of things they could have done without killing her anyway.
Yeah.
Well, look, there is one thing that we can take away from this, is that Bella is currently thriving because Rowena's now in charge of hell, and there's no way she would have let that slide. So
that's very true. Yeah. They end the phone call with Dean saying, "I'll see you in hell," which she doesn't.
Yeah.
And we see Bella just like listening to the dial tone, set the phone aside. We hear the like hellhounds in the background. Then it fades to black, or cuts to black.
Yeah, episode done. It's
They could have done something, because when a character doesn't die on screen doesn't mean they're dead.
Oh, yeah, look, if Victor Hendrickson's death is open for interpretation, Sarah Gamble, then if you don't explicitly show it on screen, I'm taking everything ever that happens in Supernatural open for interpretation, because you said so. Yeah, I think, well, yeah, we'd be mad about it. It's a good setup, I guess, for the next episode, because we have the threat of hell, we have the threat of Lilith, no cult, no Bella to help them. You know, we've got Rufus now, who may be a help, but I don't think he's in the next episode. And we've got Bobby. It's kind of like saying there's no hope going into the finale of this season. And yeah, I kind of like that, I guess, because you want to see what's going to happen.
This episode was disappointing. It could have easily been 2 episodes. I feel like we should have explored Benton's character, Monster of the Week, more. We definitely should have explored Bella more.
Yeah.
There was no reason for her backstory to be so tragic.
Yeah.
No, her backstory could have been the same.
Yeah.
I know we've said there's no reason for, like, she has no reason to explain herself because she doesn't need to. But it would have been interesting if she had at some point, because I do feel like that would have changed their opinion of her. And I don't know why they couldn't have sympathy for Bella. There's no reason why, in my mind, that they had to treat her so poorly.
Again, I don't really know what's the takeaway, right? What is the takeaway? You don't know what people are going through, so you shouldn't judge them, which is true. But I don't feel like that's what the majority of people would take away from this episode.
No, not at all. Like, it's not what the characters learned. The characters learned nothing.
Yeah.
Us as people, as the audience, might have done that. I wonder if there are people who were, like, happy. Because there were obviously the people who didn't like Bella and how the, like, relationship between her and Dean. This was definitely just killing it dead. Like...
Yeah, it was.
Absolutely, like... There were never going to be any lost feelings between them. Like, Dean just shut the door on that and said no.
Exactly. And I wonder how much it was in reaction to fan response at the time, because we know historically, especially in these early seasons, the female characters who were introduced as love interests on this show were not received well by fans. And you're right, maybe they were just killing that relationship. Absolutely, 100% animosity between them. She's gone, partly because of that response, which is not great.
No, I find it disappointing that it was a female writer who wrote such a disturbing female character ending.
Yes.
It's not good representation. Then again, Sarah Gamble loves to write tragic women. Like, look at Faith.
I think generally what I found with Sarah Gamble's writing is she likes to write tragic stories. Generally, I do think that. I don't think I agree. You're right. I don't necessarily think. I'm going to argue a little bit. I don't necessarily think this is poor I don't know. Is it? Is it poor representation? I think it is, because they couldn't just let a character be self-assured and like. I don't know. It's very hard to like pinpoint what exactly is wrong with this, but I know something's wrong with it.
So I think the thing that gets me is that Bella goes into that room so confident.
Yeah.
Right? She goes in there, does the task, is done, and then she talks to Dean on the phone, and she's then crying and upset. There's nothing about Bella's character that makes, like, even when Gordon was waving the gun in her face, she didn't break.
You're right. Yeah.
And I think it's her breaking that doesn't make sense. I think she, as much as she hates hunters, she has the hunter's mentality of like wanting to go down swinging. And they did not give that to her.
Yeah.
Which she deserved.
Yeah. Okay. I'm with you. Yeah. Well, I think we could probably talk about Bella for like hours. Probably will talk about more in our season wrap up too. But I mean, we have the finale coming up, which is going to be a super long episode too, I'm sure. Yes. Maybe. I'm thinking about what actually happens in the episode. I'm like, maybe it won't be that long.
I'm sure like how we feel about it is what's going to be.
That's true. Yeah.
So yeah, No Rest for the Wicked, as you well know, is the episode name. To end on a bit of a lighter note.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Just say that like Sam's hair is getting better.
I actually disagree. I'm sorry. I preferred it in the last episode where he was rocking more of a like, oh my god, what's his name from Criminal Minds?
Oh, Reed.
Yeah, where he's rocking more of a Reed flicky hair look.
Well, so I meant like he's starting to style it more.
Okay, yeah. No, I'm with you. The styling is happening. It is occurring. I agree with you. Yeah.
And with recent pictures of Jensen, I wish Dean had grown out his hair.
Right.
That would be so good.
Right. Because it's not being funny, but living on the road and getting a haircut that often is not actually very realistic.
They do it themselves.
I know they do it themselves. Well, yeah. But who cuts Dean's hair?
He does. He does it to himself.
No way does it look that even if he cuts his hair himself. He has a short back and sides. There is no way. Either Sam cuts his hair or he is going regularly to a barber. No way that man cuts his own hair.
Oh no, if you do it long enough.
No, I will never believe that. That is not my headcanon, Annabelle.
Well, we all know it's a makeup artist, so it doesn't count.
I know. Okay.
Well, that was a tragic episode for no other reason to be tragic, to be honest. Which is kind of nah. But yeah, so no rest for the wicked. We'll do the season finale, then we'll have our little wrap up. We'll give you a little treat with our gag reel, and then we're going to have a break before we go into season 4.
Yeah.
To give you a sort of a little schedule of what's coming up in the next few weeks. Thank you to the Pixel Agora for our lovely podcast art. You can get that design on many different things on our Redbubble store. A portion of the profits go to them if you buy something from our store.
I have an actual real life recommendation for the tote bag because I took it somewhere and a lady told me it was extremely mysterious.
Oh.
She used that word and I was like, yeah.
Very nice. There you go. And a little anecdote for you. You can also find us on all the social medias, Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Leave us a comment, subscribe. We put the episodes a week later, so they're a week behind. Just search Escaping Purgatory podcast and come say hi. Let us know about the injustices of Bela Talbot or Abby. No last name.
It's true. So this week, in our walk through Purgatory, we came across some dodgy surgery happening, and then we kind of like sideswiped that. And we also had a very tearful conversation on the phone, and then decided that was kind of crappy too. So ultimately, we righted some wrongs. We we had a little argument around the campfire, and hopefully next week we can find our way out. Bye.
Bye.